Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am your co-host Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are continuing our free agency recap series with the NFC North. We're going to start off with the Chicago Bears, but before we get into that, Ryan and we have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by April 27th, and as of this moment, Sunday night, April 2nd, we are 941. So we want to make a huge shout out to everyone that joined our channel that's helping us reach our goal. We actually can't believe that we think we're going to get it. And so we are extremely thankful. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, help us reach our goal. And even if you're watching this after we hit 1,000, you know what? Help us out and maybe get to 2,000. Help us keep, because Ryan and I, we love doing this. We love the interaction, the growing our community, and just speaking with you guys, football. It's just fun, especially speaking with everybody from the individual franchises. We learned so much by your guys' commentary. So hit that subscribe button, share this video, tell your friends and families about us, and then hopefully we keep growing this community and keep creating more content. Longer intro than normal, but more of an exciting one. So, Ryan, let's get into it. Chicago Bears they came into this offseason with all the chips. Biggest cap space, number one pick overall. Thank you, Lovie Smith. And they have done an amazing job, I think, on rebuilding this team, getting this team set up for the future. Starting off one. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say not just set up for the future, but then also you think at the progression of Justin Fields and that offense, bringing in a couple key pieces that we'll get into here in a minute, and then also still having a top 10 pick, as well as building draft capital in the future. I think the stars align for the Chicago Bears on this one, and it's going to be really cool to see what they do with all that they've done. So let's go ahead and get into their free agents that they've added and lost. Let's start with the ones that they've lost. The two big ones, well, I guess there's really one big one, but David Montgomery, the running back, went to Detroit, and then Riley Reiff, their right tackle, went to New England.
So that's one. It's in this day and age of the NFL, he was the number one running back.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you have Khalil Herbert, who was actually starting to take a lot of his carries away until he got hurt in halfway through the season or so.
Yeah.
And so I think that was actually kind of a win-win for both parties. I think David Montgomery's going to go over to Detroit. DeAndre Swift has an injury history, so I think he can come in and actually really excel in that offense. Also, too, Detroit's offensive line is significantly better. While at the same time, the Bears then clear up space. They drafted Khalil Herbert. They're going to have several more years with him. And then they brought in Dante Foreman as well, who I think would be a great addition. And that's kind of a good running back tandem right now for very cheap. So then they can spend a lot more money in the key areas of the game. Yeah. And so
and then, Riley Reiff at right tackle. He 35, very, very much older. If they had Riley Reiff 10 years ago and lost him, that would have been much worse of a loss. But you can really see his age is starting to take a toll on his playing.
Yeah. So and that's why I think they were wanting improvement along the offensive line anyways. And those were the two key noticeable losses that we had. But then within the additions, we'll stick with the offensive line here. As then they did add Nate Davis from the Titans as well, and I actually really liked that signing. He had a 3-year, $30 million contract that he signed. I think helped bolster that interior offensive line as well. And then I still think that they're going to focus more on the offensive line. A little foreshadowing for kind of a later segment in this video here, but that's going to be the biggest thing with this whole rebuild, obviously. And we're going to keep there. You want to have this offensive line. Go look, we mentioned Detroit. Go look at what Detroit was a couple years ago, and then they have revamped that entire offensive line, and now look at this offense, and then they've added all these other weapons. I think organizations are starting to realize that now. I think that's what the Bears is going to be focusing on. So, but let's then also include talk about some of the other key additions that they've added. Starting off, obviously, we mentioned Nate Davis, but way bigger addition was their trade back from one with Carolina Panthers. They got first-round pick for next year, several other picks. But most importantly, actually, they got DJ Moore. Honestly, that might be the prized possession, I think. A first-round pick is nice, but now you have a bona fide stud as a receiver. Like the
Yeah.
first round pick's really not. I mean, I guess you could debate which one was more important, but
Mhm.
having DJ Moore now, I think this almost sets them up as a potential fringe playoff team if some of the stars align.
Yeah, I think if they can get a solid offensive line group in there, Justin Fields can stay healthy. I think they're looking at 7 to 9 wins, which I think in the NFC is a
That
6-7
is
wild card seed. So
definitely doable in the NFC next year.
with the addition of DJ Moore, I a lot of people use this analogy, but I think it speaks truer now than ever in the NFL. You want to set up your wide receiver room like a basketball team, right? You want to have your point guard, you want to have your shooting guard, you want to have your center, your rebounder, right? And I think now you look at what they have. Darnell Mooney, kind of the smaller, really shifty guy. Justin Fields and him already have a really solid connection. And then you have Chase Claypool, the big rebounder, right? But now you didn't really have anything in the middle. And now you have DJ Moore, who is not just a do-it-all receiver, but he's also a very, very good do-it-all receiver. I think he is very similar to the level of Amari Cooper. He has just been on some way worse teams than Amari Cooper has been on.
Well,
and so
he was on, people forget, I think it was the year Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback, but I believe him and Robbie Anderson were both 1,000-yard receivers with Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback. But then Sam Darnold came in, and then obviously then we all know kind of the history of the Panthers over these past couple of years. So
I want to say DJ Moore has 3,000 yards 3,000 yard seasons.
Yeah. Very underrated. Kind of almost has like a Brandon Cooks type career, I feel like, kind of going up. Like, everyone knows he's a good receiver. He's just been on some crappy teams. So, other noticeable additions, and we'll kind of come back to all this at the end, but Tremaine Edmonds from the Bills, we did a video specifically, I think, about how your Patriots wanted to sign him. And the Bills gave him a lot more money, and I love that addition.
So I really like that addition because I think the Bears are going to run a similar style defensive system to what the Bills ran. And Tremaine Edmonds really in that last year started to flourish. And they took a little bit of a gamble, giving him $18 million a year. And however, he's a 25-year-old linebacker coming off his best season.
Yeah.
And his one weakness was his coverage skills, and he dramatically improved his coverage skills last year. So I really like that addition. And then I think you couple that with TJ Edwards, the signing from the Eagles. I think that is just a really good linebacking tandem. And I think Matt Eberflus will have a lot of fun moving those guys around and putting them in blitz packages, dropping them out into coverage. I think that's going to be a lot of fun for their Bears fans to watch.
Yeah. And so a couple other noticeable additions as well is DeMarcus Walker from the Titans, defensive lineman, and then another defensive lineman, Andrew Billings from the Raiders, and also Robert Tonyan, the tight end from the Packers. I like all those, just bolstering up kind of all those other positions.
Good floor signings, right? You're setting the floor for your roster, and I think that's really good.
Yeah.
So let's get in now to the last part of this video, and that is what we think the Bears should do in the draft. And you kind of mentioned it earlier on. We both are on the same page with this. I think at that 9 pick, you're in the sweet spot for one of those top tackles.
Oh, yeah.
So Tevin Jenkins, I believe, is the second-year offensive tackle.
Yeah.
And he'd been playing mostly guard, so that hasn't worked out on the outside. And so I think they're looking to fill both tackle spots in this class. And this is a pretty good tackle class. So I think that they can do both of that. But at 9, I think you're looking at Paris Johnson, Peter Skoronski. Broderick Jones is a little bit more developmental than those guys. However, his physical traits are just through the roof.
And that's why, and I'm curious what Bears fans think. So leave a comment on what you think they should do with their first pick in the draft. Because I will say I do also like the possibility of them maybe even trading back, like let's say a quarterback falls and like the Commanders want to trade up to get an extra first round pick. But I don't know if they'd want to fall that far back. And so I like the idea of going with Skoronski here, because if he's the one that is the most technically sound, every scout, like you read every scouting report and it's hard to find a flaw. Maybe if he was an inch taller, and had a little bit longer arms, what I mean? Just a little bit bigger. But even then, though, I think he's been successful at the tackle position. He's been successful all throughout the offensive line. So I think you can move him around. And if for a team like the Bears, who is wanting to have consistent offensive line play, then a plug-and-play offensive lineman that's going to excel is what you're looking for. That's what I lean that way. But I also, if they went with Paris Johnson or Broderick Jones, it's like I think it'd be a good pick. I agree with you a little bit, maybe a stretch. That being said, though, if they see the potential in Broderick Jones, I would like that pick.
If you want a more athletic offensive line, Broderick Jones is your guy. Not that Paris Johnson and Peter Skoronski aren't athletic. Broderick Jones is just an elite athlete at the left tackle position.
Yeah.
And to me, if that's the way they want to go, then I completely understand. So I think it's really interesting to see what the Bears could do for the 2023 season. I think kind of what you said, I think they've set themselves up to be a 7 to 9 win fringe playoff team. And that's just really exciting for Bears fans who have been the team has been pretty bad the last few years. So
it's the rewards of several bad seasons in a row. Just ask me as a Falcons fan.